So Tom and Jerry was a thing that happened very recently, and I've never really had a nostalgic attachment to the original Tom and Jerry show because I was too busy watching Rocky Racers and Sylvester and Tweety. I guess at one point I was familiar with Tom and Jerry since they were such a large phenomenon, but my initial impression was, what if Sylvester and Tweety had no dialogue? And honestly, kinda wish I watched TJ as opposed to Sylvester when I was younger. But then the trailer for the TJ movie dropped. I'm just gonna call it that, and honestly, I wasn't all that hyped up for it. I was a bit taken aback by the animation, but it did embrace the cartoony antics of its inspiration. But then the live action kicked in and it looked horrid, so my initial hypothesis was that my enjoyment in this film would largely depend on the ratio of animated moments as opposed to its live action sequences, and of course a collection of other situational factors as well as just how good the film was in general. And boy, is it not. I guess I should start by being kind of nice by saying that the highlights of the film are easily the scenes of cartoony hysterics. The only thing that somewhat unnerved me was the lack of shadows casted by the cartoon characters. They looked perfectly fine, it's just that they felt badly photoshopped in. Some moments of silence here and there, classic Tom vs. Jerry shenanigans, and solid entertaining visual gags in action. But I absolutely cannot stand the rest of this film. The story basically boils down to Tom and Jerry's usual love-hate shenanigans. Oh, I'm sorry, that whole thing just fades into the background. No, our main character is about this girl deceiving her way into getting a high-class job at a high-class hotel because there's a big wedding happening in a week and the hotel has to get ready. But then Jerry moves in and there's a mouse problem, and Tom and the girl team up to catch Jerry, and okay, this is a spoiler, but I literally do not care about this film enough to keep quiet. The groom wants to go all out on the wedding and proceeds to buy literally everything, mostly for product placement, more blatant than the Sonic movie did with Olive Garden, while the bride just wants him to listen to her for once. Through wacky shenanigans and very severe cases where we all questioned how the girl isn't arrested yet, Tom and Jerry end up crashing the wedding, ruining everything. And the lie about the girl faking her resume is revealed and blah blah blah. Then somehow they have the brilliant idea to butt in on the couple's personal lives to redo the wedding, and that somehow works. Now, I get the heart behind the marriage plot. It does have some moments of sincerity involving the groom just listening to the bride, though they could have just gone for an additional thing to have a balancing act, but the way this is all told, absolute garbage. Every single live action shot just tuned me out of the whole experience. I can hardly remember anyone's names apart from the main character, but we'll come back to her. Everyone's personalities and role in the story is so bland, boring, and hideous. What's worse is that the live action parts are the main story. I literally could care less about the story. I just want to see Tom and Jerry fight. So many advances in the story are by coincidence or just straight up don't make any sense. Each performance is excruciating to watch, but what ultimately soured this movie for me personally was the girl who played Kayla. She was the worst actress in this film, but if you look at her other works, she has a history of doing a pretty decent job, or even excellent, at acting or voice acting in packed films, even in ones that were PG. She did freaking Kaguya from Princess Kaguya. Why do you have to turn your brain off for this? This applies to everyone behind production. I am absolutely baffled by how everyone in the higher-ups were live-action people, but the live-action was the worst part. It was child pandering, dumb, and just so horrid to look at. But Jacob, it's a kid's film. They don't need to try as hard. F that. I don't care what your demographic is. If you're going to tell a story, tell it well. Kids aren't going to look back on this film and adore it. They're gonna just up and forget about it. There is no charm in this film whatsoever. Well, almost. Like I said, the easy highlights of this film are the classic Tom and Jerry antics, which do happen occasionally, so if you were to see this just because you want to see cartoon characters flopping around, I can see that being the case, but this is a film where you just skip over a majority of the parts in order to get to where you want, just watch clips online is what I'm getting at here. I can officially say this is the worst thing I've seen so far this year, which isn't saying much since I haven't seen that many films yet. And for those wondering, no, I still haven't gotten to see Lupin the First, Jianxia, Neja, or even Whitesnake, despite all of them being available right now, but I did get to check out Ghibli and Dreamworks' new installments, Earwig and the Witch and Croods 2, both of which are perfectly fine. Whereas I had no significant reaction to these films aside from really good laughs and just feelings of coziness and warmth, the TJ movie has almost none of that. Entertaining for sure, but there are just too many painful scenes to get through. So no, this isn't a good movie. I barely paid attention. I will never return to it. 3 out of 10. Everyone knows that Raya and the Last Dragon is coming this Friday, and everyone should watch it. But don't forget that next Monday, Bombay Rose is coming on Netflix, and 2 anime series films are coming out later this year, so I recommend watching their respective shows before they come out. One of which I haven't seen, the other... you already know how I feel about that. So everyone, what are your thoughts on the Tom and Jerry movie? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It takes hours and days to make these videos, whereas it only takes a few seconds of your time to do those 4 actions. As always, thank you for watching, and see you next time.